Black Men in America podcast, hosted by OG Foxy. Welcome to Black Men in America podcast. I'm your host, OG Foxy. In this episode, we dive into the crucial issues surrounding women's rights, examining Kamala Harris's stance on codifying Roe v. Wade, and the broader implications of political actions on women and families. We also take a crucial look at Donald Trump's recent statements and proposals. So let's get started. Vice President Harris said almost 200,000 manufacturing jobs were lost under Donald Trump before the pandemic.
Now look, my opponent, Donald Trump, he makes big promises on manufacturing. Just yesterday, he went out and promised to bring back manufacturing jobs. And if that sounds familiar, it should. In 2016, he went out and made that very same promise about the Carrier plant in Indianapolis. You'll remember, Carrier then offshored hundreds of jobs to Mexico under his watch. And it wasn't just there. On Trump's watch, offshoring went up and manufacturing jobs went down across our country and across our economy. All told, almost 200,000 manufacturing jobs were lost during his presidency, starting before the pandemic hit, making Trump one of the biggest losers ever on manufacturing. Donald Trump also talked a big game on our trade deficit with China. But it is far lower under our watch than any year of his administration. While he constantly got played by China, I will never hesitate to take swift and strong measures when China undermines the rules of the road at the expense of our workers, our communities, and our companies, whether it's flooding the market with steel, inferior, or at all, unfairly subsidizing shipbuilding, or hurting our small businesses with counterfeits. Recall, Donald Trump actually shipped advanced semiconductor chips to China, which helps them upgrade their military. Understand the impact of these so-called policies that really are not about a plan for strengthening our prosperity or our security. I will never sell out America to our competitors or adversaries. Never. Never. And I will always make sure we have the strongest economy and the most lethal fighting force anywhere in the world.
Trump's presidency was the worst in American history. Vice President Harris said, "We will take on bad actors who exploit emergencies and drive up grocery prices.
We will also go after the biggest drivers of cost for the middle class and work to bring them down." And one of those, some would argue one of the biggest, is the cost of housing. So here's what we will do. We will cut the red tape that stops homes from being built and take on, in addition, corporate landlords who are hiking rental prices. And we will work with builders and developers to construct 3 million new homes and rentals for the middle class, because increasing the housing supply will help drive down the cost of housing. We will also help first-time homebuyers just get their foot in the door with a $25,000 down payment assistance. Because the goal is clear. Let's help more Americans afford to buy a home, which we know is a critical step in their ability to grow their wealth and intergenerational wealth. And we will work to reduce other big costs for middle-class families. We will take on bad actors who exploit emergencies and drive up grocery prices by enacting the first ever federal ban on corporate price gouging. I had the experience of dealing with that when I was Attorney General. We will take on Big Pharma and cap the cost of prescription drugs for all Americans, just like we did for our seniors.
These bad actors are acting like pharmaceutical companies. Kamala said, we just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.
We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.
Trump's policies were proven not to work. Vice President Harris said, for all these positive steps, the cost of living in America is still too high.
Over the past 3.5 years, we have taken major steps forward to recover from the public health and economic crisis we inherited. Inflation has dropped faster here than the rest of the developed world. Unemployment is near record low levels. We have created almost 740,000 manufacturing jobs, including 650 at the battery manufacturing plant over in Turtle Creek. And we have supported another 15,000 jobs at Montgomery Locks. So, these are local, great examples of the work that we have achieved thus far. And last week, for the first time, of course, in 4.5 years, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates, which will make it just a little easier for families to buy a home or a car or just pay down their credit card bill. But let's be clear. For all these positive steps, the cost of living in America is still just too high. You know it, and I know it. And that was true long before the pandemic hit. Many Americans who aspire to own a home are unable to save enough for a down payment on a house, and starting to think that maybe home ownership is just outside of their reach. Folks who live in factory towns and in rural communities, who have lost jobs, are wondering if those jobs will ever come back. Many Americans are worried about how they'll afford the prescription medication they depend on. All of this is happening at a time when many of the biggest corporations continue to make record profits while wages have not kept up pace. I understand the pressures of making ends meet. I grew up in a middle-class family. And while we were more fortunate than many, I still remember my mother sitting at that yellow Formica table, late at night, cup of tea in hand, with a pile of bills in front of her, just trying to make sure that she paid them off by the end of the month. Like so many Americans, just trying to make it all work. Every day, millions of Americans are sitting around their own kitchen tables and facing their own financial pressures.
Positive steps are much better than Trump's negative steps that created this situation. Vice President Harris said, under my plan, more than 100 million Americans will get a middle-class tax break.
To that end, the most practical thing we can do right now is to cut taxes for middle-class families and individuals. And that's what we will do. Under my plan, more than 100 million Americans will get a middle-class tax break that includes $6,000 for new parents during the first year of their child's life. To help families cover everything from car seats to cribs. We'll also cut the cost of childcare and elder care. And finally, give all working people access to paid leave, which will help everyone caring for children, caring for aging parents, and that sandwich generation, which is caring for both. So I have a personal experience with caregiving. I remember being there for my mother when she was diagnosed with cancer. Cooking meals for her, taking her to her appointments, just trying to make her comfortable, figuring out which clothes were soft enough that they wouldn't irritate her, and telling her stories to try and make her laugh. I know caregiving is about dignity. It really is. And when we lower the cost and ease the burdens people face, we will not only make it then easier for them to meet their obligations as caregivers, we will also make it more possible for them to go to work and pursue their economic aspirations. And when that happens, our economy as a whole grows stronger.
Trump's tariffs would tax millions of Americans. Kamala Harris said Donald Trump is also the person who said women should be punished.
I know I'm out of time, but then I just want to ask you a question from my gut.
Okay.
Because today we're talking about we're talking about the economy.
Yeah.
And people don't think often about reproductive rights being an economic issue, but it is. A woman's ability to plan her future, her education, her life. Today, and in the last few days, Donald Trump keeps talking about it and how in overturning Roe v. Wade, he helped women. He protected women. He says they're miserable today. They're poorer today. They're more vulnerable today. He said he will be the protector of women if elected. Can you respond to that?
So Donald Trump is also the person who said women should be punished for exercising a decision that they rightly should be able to make about their own body and their future. So I think we would all agree that as a result of that perspective that he has about women, he also then chose 3 members of the United States Supreme Court who did as he intended, undid the protections of Roe v. Wade, and now, in state after state, you see laws being passed that do punish women. Laws that, most recently, a heartbreaking story resulted in a young woman dying, a mother of a 6-year-old. Heart-wrenching stories. And that's for the listener, much less their family. So, look, I think the thing about Donald Trump is that, I don't think the women of America need him to say he's going to protect them. The women of America need him to trust them.
Can we trust you?
Yes.
Women need protection from Trump. Kamala Harris said she will support ending the filibuster to codify Roe v. Wade into law.
It is well within our reach to hold on to the majority in the Senate and take back the House. And so I would also emphasize that while the presidential election is extremely important and dispositive of where we go moving forward. It also is about what we need to do to hold on to the Senate and win seats in the House. That being said, I've been very clear. I think we should eliminate the filibuster for Roe, and we need and get us to the point where 51 votes would be what we need to actually put back in law the protections for reproductive freedom and for the ability of every person and every woman to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do.
Harris should do whatever is needed to overturn Trump's abortion ban. Here's a new Harris ad.
Eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets. This is what's happening in our country.
While Trump is focused on that, Kamala Harris is focused on you.
It is important that we move forward and address the needs of the American people, address the housing shortage, support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries, and I pledge to you that I will.
Unpack is responsible for the content of this ad.
That ad was fire. Trump announced if he wins, he will lift sanctions on Russia and Iran.
So my specific question is, would you strengthen or modify any of these economic sanctions programs, particularly Russia, including the pipeline you mentioned?
Well, it's a great question. The problem with what we have with sanctions, and I was a user of sanctions, but I put them on and take them off as quickly as possible because ultimately it kills your dollar and it kills everything the dollar represents, and we have to continue to have that be the world currency. I think it's important. I think it would be losing a war if we lost the dollar as the world currency. I think that would be the equivalent of losing a war. That would make us a third world country, and we can't let it happen. So I use sanctions very powerfully against countries that deserve it, and then I take them off because look, you're losing Iran, you're losing Russia. China is out there trying to get their currency to be the dominant currency, as you know better than anybody. All of these things are happening. You're losing so many countries because there's so much conflict with all of these countries that you're going to lose that, and we can't lose that. So I want to use sanctions as little as possible.
Trump caters to America's enemies. Trump said no one did more for farmers when he was president.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you. And a special group of people, the farmers. Nobody's done for farmers what I've done. Unfortunately, they haven't followed through. We made a deal with China. It was one of my best deals that I made. I made a lot of good deals, but we made the USMCA, Mexico, Canada, which was terrific. But we had a specific deal with China where they were going to buy $50 billion worth of farm product. And it's interesting how we got there because when the negotiation was going on, and it was a nasty negotiation, and I said to the farmers, just stick with me because we're going to do it. They're great negotiators. They're not going to go that fast. Just stick with me because you never had anybody negotiating for the farmers before me as president. And my people, I said, what are the numbers we're talking about? And they said 15 million, 15, not 50. I said, all right. So it's $15 billion worth of product that they were going to buy because they've been taking advantage of the farmers for years. This was like a penalty to China. And I thought they said 50, not 15. So the negotiations, I said, how are you doing with the 50 billion? No, sir, we're close to 15. I said, what do you mean 15? You said 50. I said, no, I want 50. They said, that's not what we said. We said 15. I said, that's okay. Ask for 50. Tell them we have to have 50 billion, not 15. And I got it. The problem is, big problem, that now they don't enforce it.
Farm bankruptcy soared 24% when Trump was president. Trump said California, they have blackouts and brownouts every single day.
They want to almost immediately go to all electric. And we don't have enough electric to take care of ourselves. You go to California, they have blackouts and brownouts every single day. California is a mess. They have the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. Has anybody ever heard of him? But worse, they had an attorney general and a DA who destroyed San Francisco and then destroyed California. And I hate to...
Trump is confusing Cali with Texas. This is really good.
I can't believe we're having this conversation again. So here we go. You know who the candidates are. You know what's at stake. One candidate promises a divided America filled with lies and hate, and one stands for change. Kamala Harris has more courage, more honor, more guts than this guy ever had. So you decide, are we really going back down that same fucking broken road, or are we moving forward towards hope, towards freedom, towards change?
We know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success.
There's promise that lies in change, and the time for change is now. So what the hell are you waiting for? Because if it's the woman thing, it's time to get over that. It's time for hope, for change. It's time to be a man and vote for a woman.
Ratings and reviews can help the Black Men in America podcast reach a wider audience, and donations will improve the quality of our content. To donate, just click on the support the show link. Thank you. I'm voting for change. Trump attacks John Deere.
Behind me, John Deere tractors. I know a lot about John Deere. I love the company, but as you know, they've announced a few days ago that they're going to move a lot of their manufacturing business to Mexico. I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States, so that if I win, John Deere is going to be paying a 200%. They haven't started it yet. Maybe they haven't even made the final decision yet, but I think they have. John Deere is going to, and anybody else that does this, because it's hurting our farmers, it's hurting our manufacturing. And if you do that, you're going to have a 200% tariff put on the product that you make in Mexico, right across the border. They think they're going to make product cheaper in Mexico and then sell it in for the same prices they did before, make a lot of money by getting rid of our labor and our jobs, and really a great name, because John Deere is a great name. I buy a lot of John Deere, tremendous. I'm one of their big customers.
Trump's tax would hurt farmers even more. Donald Trump said that he will impose a $3,900 tax hike on middle income.
Please. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've spoken with some economists about your proposal for tariffs, and they say they don't see how it will not make items cost more in the United States.
They'll approve it. They'll approve. And number one, I don't need them. I don't need Congress, but they'll approve it. I have the right to impose them myself if they don't. I'd rather get their support. The ones that understand business all support it. I think David would be a very big supporter of the tariffs, because you understand what's happening, right? David's a great business person, led a great company. No, the ones that understand business, they understand. You know,
Trump doesn't care about the middle class. Trump said, I'm going to close the Department of Education.
We spend more money per pupil than any other country by far, and yet we're at the bottom of the list. Out of 40, we're ranked about number 40, and I'm going to close the Department of Education and move education back to the states, and we're going to do it fast. Maybe I'll have you do that. I'll use Lee. Maybe I'll have you. You could do it. That's not too easy. We'll get somebody great. We'll get Lee Zeldin is here with us tonight. I think that's the job for Lee.
This is in keeping with Project 2025. Donald Trump announced that he will retire from politics if he loses in November.
And then, if you're not successful this time, do you see yourself running again in 4 years?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I think that will be it. I don't see that at all. I think that hopefully we're going to be successful.
Mr. President, thank you.
Trump will be in prison if he loses. Trump says Americans who criticize the Supreme Court for overturning Roe v. Wade should be imprisoned.
They were very brave, the Supreme Court, very brave, and they take a lot of hits because of it. It should be illegal what happens. You know, you have these guys like playing the ref, like the great Bobby Knight. These people should be put in jail the way they talk about our judges and our justices.
So much for free speech under Trump. Trump said, I find it very hard to sleep. I've got so many ideas.
Hard to sleep. I get so many ideas. I'm thinking all the time. This guy just goes out, lies down, goes out, pictures of him. It's pretty sad when you think about it, right? We will, we laugh, but it's sad. And no.
Trump is thinking about going to prison, which makes it hard for him to sleep. New NBC polling finds that 57% of Americans hold a highly unfavorable view of Donald Trump's Project 2025.
Our country is going to hell. The critical job of institutions such as Heritage is to lay the groundwork, and Heritage does such an incredible job at that. This is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America. And that's coming. That's coming.
Trump admits that he will implement Project 2025, and many Republicans are in favor of Project 2025. Trump is now selling an overpriced coin.
Hello, everyone. I have something incredible to share today. We are announcing the launch of Trump coins, a true symbol of American greatness. Trump coins are designed by me and minted right here in the USA. This beautiful limited edition coin commemorates our movement, our fight for freedom, prosperity, and putting America first. We always put America first. It's more than just a collector's item. It's a testament to the resilience and strength of the American people, our American patriots that we love so much. This coin is composed of 99.9% pure silver with a beautiful proof finish, and it's really something very special. Each coin comes with a certificate of authenticity with my signature to ensure you have purchased a real Trump coin. I've seen a
Trump supporters are so gullible. Trump said that the war in Ukraine is America's fault.
Naturally, they're reduced now to using young boys and old men. Young boys and old men, because the people have been killed. So many of the people have been killed that they are using young boys to fight the war and old men. How about that? It's what a horrible thing has happened. Just because, and it's our fault because it's a war that should have never been allowed to happen, and we had the power that it would never have happened. We have an incompetent leader.
Trump would never blame Putin for anything. Trump says, bring back Johnny Carson.
It was like 2015, thinking about running. I was going to run. I went on his show, right? And he goes, The Tonight Show, which is dying. They're all dying. Where's Johnny Carson? Bring back Johnny. It made you appreciate, right, Uncle Sam? It made.
Of course, Carson is dead. Trump was asked, do you think Springfield will ever be the same?
The same. They will never be. Do you think Springfield will ever be the same? I don't think. The fact is, and I'll say it now, you have to get them the hell out. Yeah.
Springfield will never be the same after what Trump did to them. Trump said for years they knocked the word tariff.
And by the way, for years they knocked the word tariff, properly used, is a beautiful word. One of the most beautiful words I've ever heard. It's music to my ears. A lot of bad people didn't like that word, but now they're finding out I was right. And we will take in hundreds of billions of dollars into our treasury and use that money to benefit the American citizens. And it will not cause inflation, by the way.
Trump wants to give his rich his rich friends tax cuts, but wants to tax Americans through his tariffs. Trump is crying because Kamala called him weird.
Many of your allies who want you to win in November say your current strategy isn't working, that you need to stop with the personal attacks on Kamala Harris and deliver a more disciplined message. Do you agree? And also, you added more people to your campaign today. Yeah. Is that a sign of a shifting strategy?
No, I think it's a sign of we want to close it out. We have great people. Susie is fantastic, as you know, and Chris is fantastic. They're leading it. Corey Lewandowski's coming in. He'll be, personal envoy, or he'll be at some level. They're going to be, they're doing a great job. Look, we've taken, with all of the abuse we've taken from the fake news media, all of this horrific abuse we take, and all I want to do is make the country good. All I want to do is have strong borders and good education. We want to have choice for education. So important, so many different things. You would think it would be the other way. We rebuilt the military. We did so many great things. But that's the way it's been for Republicans, and I guess more so for me than anybody in history, and that's okay, because we're leading in the polls. For the most part, we're leading in the polls. We were leading Biden by a lot. We're leading now, but I think when she's exposed, I think we're going to beat her by a lot more than we would have beaten Biden by, because he had a little group of people that have been voting for him for a long time. She doesn't have that. People don't know who she is. As far as the personal attacks, because of what she's done to the country, I'm very angry at her that she'd weaponized the justice system against me and other people. Very angry at her. I think I'm entitled to personal attacks. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence, and I think she'll be a terrible president. And I think it's very important that we win. And whether the personal attacks are good, bad, I mean, she certainly attacks me personally. She actually called me weird. He's weird. It was just a soundbite.
Trump calls Kamala much worse things. Well, that's it for Black Men in America. Thank you for tuning in. We hope it shed light on the pressing political issues that affect us. And may God bless us all. Black Men in America podcast and OG Foxy production. Love and peace to us all.